back, everybody, to Warlord of SBAS plays Torment, Ties in Numenera, episode 25. Last time, we see if we can make that official admit that he brought that Stygius, I believe it's called, to the surface. We couldn't figure it out, so I think we had to go to the underbelly to get the proof. And now we're looking at this psychic bar for psychics. And we started talking to everyone. Now we're talking to Sir Arthur, some explorer dude. So let's continue with that. What are the Numenera? His eyes light up as to do a number of devices on his person, though you cannot see why. The Numenera are practically everything around you. We live among the detritus of uncountable civilizations, many of which were more powerful than you or even I can imagine. Everything they left is the Numenera. Weapons, power sources, medicines, gels, plants, animals, even the very dirt in the ground and shiz in your pocket, for example, of Numenera. It's such a broad term that the Order of Truth has categorized the Numenera with terms like oddities, ciphers, and artifacts. Of course, any true student of the Numenera considers those categories too broad still. I have my own distinctions, but that is neither here nor there. He takes a puff from his pipe. In any case, it is the Numenera that powers the wonders of of the world. From the explorers' esoterias to the digispheres to the drinks in this very tavern. What's the difference between oddities, ciphers, and artifacts? He takes a long puff on his pipe before answering. For the most part, he says, those terms refer to how useful a device is. It makes sense and wonderful and powerful as the relics of the past are. Nobody in this world gives a damn unless it can fix their problems. He sighs. They don't care how it works or where it comes from. But if they can use it, but if they can use it to feed themselves, fight off a Uraneth Grask, or at least get them a few extra shins, now they're interested. Shows you the back of his fist and sticks out a thumb. Oddities are the least useful. They do something like, alright, heat your drink, float in the air, make everything you say sound like music, whatever. But it's rarely something anyone can get any utility out of. Oddities are fascinating, but pragmatically, they are not only worth a few shins. He sticks out his pointer finger in the air next to his thumb. Ciphers. Now those might do anything. Heal your body, shoot a blast of flame, teleport you somewhere safe, and so on. But they're volatile. Whatever they do, they'll do it just once. And if you don't know what you're doing, putting too many together can give you what's called a cipher sickness. Puts out the third figure. Artifacts don't do that. That term belongs to devices that last. Maybe not forever, but more than one shot. What's cipher sickness? Terrible, just terrible. He sets his pipe down. Ciphers are volatile devices, as I told you. If you know what you're doing, you can separate, insulate, and quarantine those thus carrying more ciphers than your average explorer with ill effects. Something on his person starts chirping. He taps his pocket to stop it, but otherwise pays no mind. But if you carry more than you can handle, those ciphers react in unpredictable ways, draining your energy, wearing you down, or worse. He leans forward conspiratorially. This one time I saw a cluster of ciphers bond to each other and gain what I can only describe as sentience. Ripped my assistant to pieces before tearing off in the cold desert. Haven't seen it since. He picks up his pipe and sticks it back in his mouth. It was completely unexpected. I felt bad about that assistant, but well, science and all that. He shrugs. Fortunately, most effects of cipher sickness are temporary, easily cured by simply getting rid of some ciphers. How would you categorize the Numenera? Ah, fascinating question. He sits down in his drink and leans forward. I'll give you the brief version because you obviously have places to be. But simply, I'm less interested in how useful the device is than its means of function. Takes a quick puff from his pipe and sets that down as well. Now the technology of the prior worlds is far too comprehensive and fairy for us to truly understand which civilization created what. But we can define some basic categories. Counts each one off in his finger. Many devices deal with fundamental forces, gravity, magnetism, sound, light, even time itself. Automations and created intelligence fall under artificial life or biotechnology. Covers a wide variety of Numenera. Many plants and animals that we consider natural are in fact created by prior worlds for some arcane purpose. The blue may fall under this category. Someday I'll hire a team to find out if I can find anyone reckless enough. Hey, I'm doing nothing, and I'm probably going to be going to the blue soon. I'm just saying. There are chemical devices as well as those dealing with various forms of matter. Metals, liquids, crystals, and conversion between those three. His eyes light up. The most interesting are also the most esoteric. Nanotechnology, which covers much of what common folk consider magic. Transdimensional tech. And technology related to the data sphere itself. He's back reinserting his pipe, but those are all just the classifications I prefer. The Numenera defy definition. What is the data sphere? It's difficult to say exactly. At most basic level, the data sphere is information stored within the air itself, but it's much more than that. So the prior worlds created similar spheres of knowledge around it, or throughout our world. The term data sphere encompasses all of them, the connection between them and the effects thereof. For example, he lifts a nod finger. People talk about glimmers, visions from another place or time. Those are actually some portion of the data sphere accessing human minds. Some ciphers, even some nanos can access arcane knowledge from the data sphere. Why even so-called telepathy is sometimes two people communicating through the data sphere without realizing it. The data sphere is the subject of research is far too large for several lifetimes. Alas, I have only been able to spend my time delving into devices that seem to use it, but not the data sphere itself, or rather various and incompatible networks that comprise the data sphere, perhaps someday. She had been Callista. Calliste, sorry, now that I know how to say her name, has been leaning in, listening intently, and leans back in disappointment, etched across her features. It is a worthy field of study. I hope that we might share our knowledge. Perhaps when you've acquired several lifetimes as I have, we'll speak further on the subject. What are esoterias? Esoteria is a common name for any various power or ability that cannot be explained by understanding of science. Nanos are capable of esoterias more than most. But other people, even creatures, sometimes exhibit powers that they would call esoterias as well. What are shins exactly? He peers at you over the glass. Ah, you are new, aren't you? Since our currency, the Ham's priests believe that some very ancient prior world used specific metals or crystals as currency per their rarity. Well, of course, no metal is truly rare anymore. Half the nanos I've met can transmute metal into crystal. Why? I once transmuted flesh into gold, though not entirely on purpose. Anyway, rarity is useless as many means of value, so the value of the shin is necessary a social construct. Shins can be coined like objects or jagged bit of interesting metal. I think you'll find that there is remarkable agreement as to what does and does not constitute true Shin. Many realms in the Steadfast actually mint their own money, but you'd be hard pressed to find a traveling merchant who didn't accept anything you had on you at the time. How is drip part of the Numenera? Run your hand through the soil, son. You'll find it hardly soiled at all. It's filled with microscopic remains of ancient unknown technologies and structures, commonly known as drit. Why, in some places the drit is even alive. It takes a sip from the mug. I don't recommend sleeping in the ground in those places, by the way. Terribly unnerving for the survivors. What's the order of truth? Even though we already know this, but... it's what you might call an organized religion, except it's not a religion. Oh, members of the order call themselves priests and they're founders in Amber Pope, but they don't worship anything per se, except perhaps their own intellects. I understand that this town has its own branch of the order. They could answer your questions better than I, which we've already been to. Some other questions? Yay, world building. How do you know so much about Numenera? Cipher gathering was always the main source of income for my family. Alas, no more. But I extend that penchant into pure research. It is not arrogant to say that mine is one of the greatest laboratories in the Steadfast. Why, an entire university has sprung up around my home. I specialize in research and experimentation. Prospective assistants apply almost daily, which is good considering how quickly we churn through them. He clears his throat. Yeah, they die horribly. I'd like to know more about the world. Of course, ask me anything you like. I've traveled all over the ninth world throughout the Steadfast and beyond. Even now, a little bit of this part of the world and so-called beyond the beyond. I've met explorers of all kinds and listened to countless stories. So what is it you would like to know? Tell me about Steadfast. Much, my friend. Much. Too much, in fact. Steadfast is a collection of kingdoms and principalities far west of here, all the way to the end of the continent. He blows smoke from his mouth. It forms in a purple ball and drops to and then through the floor. It is where the Order of Truth holds sway, more than anywhere else. There are several different kingdoms, along with scattered villages and Aldi's, whatever that is. They all swear fill to the Amber Pope and his Aeon priest. He utters a small growl. The order requires nobles of the Steadfast to fight against the Games, supposedly called to the north. I have never been there myself, so I don't know the truth, but it sounds like a waste of lives and resources if you ask me. That's why I keep my laboratory in the southern reaches as far from the conflict as possible. He sucks on the pipe and thoughtfully. Granted, the order did ask me to leave after several incidents, but I was planning on moving anyway. Let's see. Tell me about the beyond. Excuse me. The wilderness between the Steadfast and here is highly dangerous. The resort seemed meant to frighten, but he has an exciting glimmer in his eye. So the most interesting claves and villages can be found there. I found one village whose people hovered a meter off the ground from birth to death. The village of another would tell you that method of future death. Can't say how accurate they were, though several of my assistants tendered their resignations. Further out is the realm of the most deadly creatures, landscapes, and weather. Oh yes, he says, seeing your expression. Land and weather itself will rip you apart in several locations in the beyond. You've heard of the Iron Wind. It is but one of the cruel rulers of the land, though perhaps the most infamous. A cloud of invisible machines altering the physical structure of anything that anyone touches. He grins widely as he brings the cup to his lips. Truly terrible. What can you tell me about the areas beyond the beyond? You're in it, friend. They call it the Scissors Protectorate, or at least this portion of it. There is citrus cliffs in the bloom nearby. I've heard of places like Haruf and Marjolas far to the east, and most interested in exploring the Valley of the Dead Heroes. I've heard so much about a place in inter the dead, but bound to be some very interesting relics in a place like that. He sighs. In truth, I am only a recent arrival in this place myself. You do better speaking with the locals. Tell me, what can you tell me about the different kinds of explorer? Brave and intrepid souls, my friend. Explorers come in all shapes and packages, but I think you will find that most people prefer the label the bravest explorer is glazed, nanos, and jacks. Glaives are the elite warriors of the world. Nanos are those who study the Numenera, using it to perform powerful esoterias. He sips a yellowish ash from the pipe. Jack is something of a catch-all term. They are mostly pragmatic folk who know little fighting and little Numenera. Jack of all trades, as it were. But explorers of any strip are useful to have around, especially if you're expecting trouble. Why do they call this the ninth world? An interesting question. He takes a proprietary swig from his cup. One would think it is because 8 worlds came before us, but even our cursory study of Numenera reveals far too much breadth and variation for there to have been a mere 8 prior worlds that created it all. One might ask that what qualifies as a world. We could say the 1st through 8th worlds are defined as the most powerful and influential civilization in the eras. But even that fails under the most basic reasoning. If the previous 8 worlds we referred to were the greatest of the ancients, then what qualifies this world, wherein we cannot even understand the most basic theories governing a time augur, to be the 9th? Truth, I'm afraid, is that we call it the 9th world simply because that is what we have decided to call it, no more, no less. Where's this way? Blah, blah, blah. Alright, we talked to this guy. A little world building there. Thief travels. Alright. The Boris. This man was sealed off from you, like trying to read the thoughts of a book that's been glued shut. Man is old and strong. His face lined with years of brutal experience. His face is aquiline, his nose sharp. He wears a broad-brimmed hat, and his voice is low grasp. I'm the Boris, he says. Tell me your story and make a good one. Yeah, I'll tell the truth. Why not? I was born falling from the sky, and now I'm trying to repair a chamber that will stop it. A nightmare. He watches you intently as you speak, and then you finish. He nods sharply. You're telling the truth, he says. A lot of people embellish or they lie outright. Try to pretend they're more than they are, so people remember them. as giants. More often than not, they'll just end up looking ridiculous. Pats you on the shoulder. You've given me a rare treat, thanks. So, what do you want? Can't help you with the chamber. Maybe there's something else. Tell me about the adversaries. His eyes narrow, leans in close. I don't want to talk them up. It's important to understand that they are not unbeatable. They are not immortal. They are tough. They are tough, hells yes, but they can be stopped. He leans back. They said they are. What are they? You've heard of spirits and beings of pure thought. That's what they are, except that they are more like living hate, like every nightmare of fear that you can't escape. A vortex of despair, and that's why we fight, because they're poison. Tell me about yourself. I'm the brains of this operation. He gestures to lazy hand around the table. Without me, they lose their thread of thought. They spend all their time wandering in dreams. You're just trying to get away from me. We're just trying to get away from your nagging. He tips his friend a wink. It's the nagging that sharpens my word, Dama. Though I admit that my words are probably getting duller every second I spend talking to you. He turns back to you. Let's call me a warrior of language. Words are my weapons and my treasure. They might be pretty sounds to you, but to me, they are the tools that pry open your imagination and leave you vulnerable to my friends here. I build a picture so that set the scene and create mazes in your mind. He takes a careful sip of his drink. I'm also the last person in the world to know the last words of Quora. Closes his eyes tightly, and then he opens them again. Seeing worms of light dancing in the eyes, they're gone again with his next blank. Their weaponized meme, a thought that sticks in your head, a tune you can't get rid of, and a saying that echoes in your mind until it drives you mad and melts your brain. She lays a hand on his arm. You don't have to talk about this, Devoras. She turns to you. It's eating away at him. He is compartmentalized, but he says that he can feel it burning away at his mind. I feel the power in you. Can you help him? You tell me about the words of Quora? His long face grows more somber, if that's possible. Those words were the ruins of an ancient civilization. I had the story from a dying Vigilian before I wrested the last words from its mind. It goes like this. Scholars of the age have found deep truth about the world, and they stumbled across these words. They wrote the knowledge down and sealed the words away with the strongest warning they could find. And then they killed themselves so that they wouldn't infect their kind. The problem was they didn't count on their writing sticking through the ages. Some skit's brain fool ignored the warning on the binding, reading the words and spilled them out into the civilization that had grown up on the spot over the millennia. 8 rulers of Quora, 8 words, and a continent-spinning empire fell. Its people bleeding from the eyes with hatred in their hearts. Survivors tried the scholar who had released the words, buried him in stone. The words were lost again. A Navjalian, a hero, found the imprisoned scholar. He tried to wipe away the knowledge he'd spoken and removed him from the world. How the Navjalian stuck there, it would have seen the dust itself rewriting the words of Quora on the floor in the wind. He bows his head. It was too late. The words had infested his mind. I found the words. I burned them from the world, trapped them in a maze in my mind, and they're here now, and they're near the exit. Jeez. I'm gonna end it here. Yeah, and we'll continue talking to the boars next time. Till next time, remember to embrace the chaos or you'll go mad. Bye.